Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to our April New Terminal 1 information session. I'm Frank Mendoza with the New Terminal 1. We're excited today to share this meeting with URW, our concessions developer and manager. It's a little different, but as the project progresses, as I've been talking about and we've been talking about all along, since the project started, there'll be many projects within the larger project. So let's go to the next slide and we'll talk a little bit about what we're going to have today. We'll go over our project overview, which I'll go through real quick. But we're here to introduce to you the concessions program from URW. So the first topic will be the concessions opportunities with product, retail, food, and beverage. We'll have discussion a little bit on the opportunities in tenant design for the architecture, engineering, and construction. Talk about the timeline for these two areas, as well as the overall concessions program and the resources that are available. We've been able to provide everyone with great resources as we've moved through the project, and we're going to continue that through the concessions program. Next slide. As you know, we are the largest of the 5 projects at JFK redevelopment for terminals. We are about $9 billion or so of that overall $19 billion of the redevelopment program. We are 100% international terminal, so that creates a little different pool of passengers, but we're here to create a world-class terminal that will be a new gateway for New York City and New York in general, the region, as well as to the States. We will have 23 gates when we open up in June of 2026. It's an over 2 million square foot facility, replacing terminals 1, 2, 3, and a little bit of onto the side of 4. In this 2 million square feet will be 180,000 square feet of commercial area that URW will be talking about. And again, as I said, 2026, first phase for the terminal as well as concessions, and then into 2030 as phase B and concessions continues. We'll get into, the team will get into more of that as we move through the presentation. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Amy Benson from URW.
Thank you, Frank. Welcome, everyone, and it's great to have you here today for the kickoff session, Introduction to Airport Concessions Opportunities for the new Terminal 1. I am your host, Amy Benson, with Unibail Rodamco Westfield. Let's go to the next slide. So a few housekeeping points as we start today's program. The session is being recorded and will be posted on our website for replay, along with the presentation. By registering for today's event, you are now on our URW diverse supplier list and will receive project updates. Second, we will open the floor to questions later in the program. So if you have a question at any time during the presentation, add a question in the Q&A tab in the engagement panel on the right. Mobile users can access Q&A using the Q&A button below the live stream video feed. We will answer submitted questions at the end of the program. Next slide. So now let's introduce our speakers. As mentioned before, my name is Amy Benson, and I am the VP of Marketing for URW. We also have Brad Tollefson, Head of Development for URW Airports, leading the design, development, and construction of the new Terminal 1 commercial program. Alex Solomon is our Director of Leasing with URW, overseeing all commercial deals. Diana Hilaire is the Senior Project Manager with RFW Consultants. Diana is a resource supporting the local community on how to get involved and participate in business opportunities. And finally, please welcome Diana Rose, Program Coordinator with the Institute of Concessions, our key partner with the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. Let's go to the next slide. So to kick off our presentation, I'd now like to turn it over to Brad Tollefson with URW, who will provide an overview of the new Terminal 1 commercial redevelopment. Brad?
Thank you, Amy. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brad Tollefson, and I've had the great opportunity to really lead development for URW Airports for the past 15 years. So for those of you that have aviation experience, you know that it can be really incredibly rewarding and quite addictive, honestly. And for those of you that are new to this sector, it only takes one opportunity for you to become passionate about aviation. So look, we're incredibly excited for this phase of the project where we get to meet incredible people and businesses and entrepreneurs to help us and our partners and our stakeholders to make Terminal 1 a truly world-class experience. To make it the best airport terminal in the US and compete to be a top 5 terminal globally, how do we do this? We really need to create this world-class experience like nowhere else. A truly unique JFK New Terminal 1 experience. Now you can see with some of the renderings on the screen here that, from an environmental design perspective, we'll do that and more, right? We've included some high-level data points here to really kind of frame up the opportunity for you all. Really, the commercial program is going to consist of about 160,000 square feet of commercial area that will be fully complete by 2030, starting with Phase A, targeted to open June 2026. Just 2 years from now, which will be here in a blink of an eye. So in addition to the $10 billion it'll take to construct New Terminal 1 base building, there's another roughly $225 million of tenant investment that will be put into place just in Phase A. Next slide, please. So this is the project phasing, and essentially it's being project Phase A on the right-hand side of the screen is really being built on the former sites of JFK Terminals 2 and 3. And then again, that's going to commence operations of June 2026. At that point in time, all the flights utilizing existing Terminal 1 will shift over to New Terminal 1. And then the decommissioning, demolition of existing Terminal 1 will make way for Phase B to commence construction and will open in 2 parts and be fully open in 2030. Next slide, please. So the opportunities related to commercial program are numerous, right? They span all types of concessions, including retail, food and beverage, services, product placement. I suspect this will comprise probably the lion's share of the participants today, and Alex will get deeper into all of this. But at a high level, we are focused on providing opportunities for ACDBs in both prime and joint venture positions, as well as local and small businesses. We also appreciate that we have a wider audience here. And so we also want to highlight there are opportunities across architectural design, engineering, contracting, subcontracting, suppliers, et cetera, to help build out that roughly $225 million that will be delivered in Phase A alone. We're also looking for professional service businesses, particularly local and minority-owned businesses, to partner with on many aspects that it'll take to deliver this once-in-a-lifetime project at JFK. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Amy.
Thank you so much, Brad, for that great overview of the development. Now I'm going to take you through the terminal demographics. Let's go to the next slide. So the new Terminal 1 is anticipated to be one of the top global terminals in the world. The terminal will serve an all-international client, and this illustration shows the destinations served. As you can see, the new Terminal 1 will be a gateway to the United States, serving passengers from multiple continents, including Europe, the Middle East, Asia, and Africa. The destinations listed showcase the existing Terminal 1 flights and provide a good idea of the international passenger base. So as an international terminal, passengers will board long-haul flights originating out of JFK, with flights averaging anywhere from 10 to 18-hour flight times. As many of you may be aware, the approach to serving an international passenger can be quite different from a domestic or mixed service terminal. Let's move to the next slide to find out more. So it's important that we know our guests, who they are, where they're traveling, and why they are traveling, so that we can curate an optimum customer experience based on their demographic profile. As we look at the demographic makeup of the terminal, 59% of the passenger mix will be visitors to the US traveling from another continent, while 41% of the passenger mix is US residents traveling abroad. As you can see from the slide, the reason for travel is 56% leisure, 26% visiting, and 17% business travelers, with each of these demographic profiles having their own unique travel styles and attributes. It's important to note that more than 80% of travelers will travel internationally at least once per year, making them more frequent international travelers. Dwell time, or how long guests wait in the terminal before boarding a plane, is going to be another important factor. So international passengers typically arrive at the airport much earlier than a domestic traveler, averaging a much longer dwell time in terminal from anywhere from 2 to 4 hours. And we anticipate that 88% of our passengers will arrive more than 2 hours early. This will vary dramatically from a typical domestic passenger who spends a much lower amount of time in the terminal with a general average of 1 hour. So we have a longer dwell time, an international profile, and it's important that we have expanded services and a curated shopping and dining experience, as the customer will have more downtime in terminal to explore and enjoy the experience. So curating that right category mix with the ideal product selection will allow us to capture a higher share of the customer's wallet and spend. Let's go to the next slide. So now that you have an overview of the new Terminal 1, I'd like to bring up Alex Solomon, Director of Leasing with URW, who will take you through the concessions program vision.
Thank you, Amy. Again, my name is Alex Solomon. I'm Director of Leasing, overseeing the concessions program here at T1 for URW. I wanted to briefly touch on the major concession categories here at T1. Duty free, which I'm sure from everyone traveling before, they know what duty free is. It's a huge component of our program, which is typical of many terminals. This is, think of the liquor, the beauty, confection, tobacco available to our consumers with no U.S. sales tax. You have travel essentials. Think of convenience for our travelers, beverages, snacks, magazines. You have the food and beverage, which is huge. That's everything from full service restaurants to QSRs, which are quick service operators, and grab and go as well. You have specialty retail. These are retail goods and products that are typically associated with apparel and accessories and electronics. And then you also have services, which are spas, nail salons, gaming, currency, etc. Next up. So wanted to touch on the kind of overall program. So on the right-hand side, you'll have the overall program of T1. What I want to focus on this call is the commercial program goals, which I think are extremely important. So you'll see that it's broken down into the F&B, the duty-free, and the travel essentials, which is a core part of the business. And you'll see that we have minimum requirements, 30% ACDBE for all three of those programs, which is, again, a minimum, which is great. And then within those specific programs, you have specific goals. So for overall F&B, we have a 50% minimum goal to have New York City-based brands. So coincide with national brands and global brands. We have we wanted to drive an emphasis on New York City and local-based F&B brands to allow our consumers to not only experience the typical global brands that they know, but to really get the flavor of Queens and New York City at large. For duty-free and travel essentials, you'll also see a minimum of 5% local product SKUs, which is atypical of other terminals, but something that we are really passionate about here. So when you think of local products, think about being a product on the shelves within these operator stores. And we'll touch on that in slides coming up. But those are our commercial program goals, which we're excited about and allow for plenty of opportunities to be a participant with us here within this program. Again, so types of business models. So within those categories, there are many ways to get involved, right? Operator / prime. These are the people that are operating those storefronts. So there are local operators all the way up to what we call prime operators. Prime operators are larger businesses that operate multiple storefronts across the program. You then have a JV partnership, which is a partnership between individuals or two different operators to co-own and co-operate different spaces within the program. A brand is you have a brand that you want to be in the program. You could either have a JV partnership where someone operates your brand on behalf of you, or you could also operate it yourself, which is what we call direct. So taking your brand, bringing it into the program and operating your storefront storefront yourself, that would be direct. And we could always touch on this further. Our partners at RFW will also go through different ways to get involved in this program and also touch on these different business models. So operating in brand partnerships, like I mentioned before, there are a few different ways, right? There's the ACDB concessions partner. This is where you're a JV partnership with other businesses in terms of retail, food and beverage, or F&B. There are national brand partnerships, and there are food and beverage partnerships. And all this is facilitated. There are different ways that we match make, which you'll see we'll touch on in a slide, a timeline slide that we'll have in a little bit, where we match make you with different partners to help, kind of be a liaison between you and different operators that could take your brand into the program. So product partnerships, think of your product getting on the shelves of other of stores within our program. Like I mentioned before, the 5% for duty free and the 5% for travel essentials, and also the 30% in food and beverage. This is a way for you to, get your brand or your specific product within the shelves of operators or storefronts within the program, which I think is an amazing opportunity and an amazing way to provide our consumers with taste and flavors of Queens and New York City at large. So we're really excited about these product partnerships. So just want to take you through a kind of a macro level timeline. So I think the big dates here are obviously today is 2024. Phase A opens June of 2026. Although that seems far away, 2 years from now, I'd encourage you to, really become active, right? Make sure that you're on these calls. Make sure that you are, getting ahead of certain certifications and insurance requirements and funding. All that takes time. So you'll see today we are currently in the recruitment and the early awareness of kind of ACDB concessions and the LB products and the food hall or F&B programming. The tenant AE, tenant C is architectural that Brad touched on before, which we'll have more information on later. But all is to say that although it's 2 years out, everything is starting now, and it's always good to be prepared. So I'd encourage everyone to, again, make sure that they're present, make sure that they're on the calls that we have now and in the future, ask as many questions as possible, and do make sure that you're doing everything that you can to have your ducks in a row in terms of certifications, insurance requirements, and funding, so that you're well positioned to be able to, close deals with us and be part of our program in the future. So now I will give it back to Amy.
Thanks, Alex. That was a great overview of this exciting and transformative concessions program. So our next section of the presentation is going to be designed to provide an overview on the unique airport environment and the key differences between operating a business at an airport versus operating in a street side location. Let's go to the next slide. So as you can imagine, operating a business in a secure environment such as an airport, where we have 24/7 security and badging requirements for all employees, can create a unique operating experience. From a merchandising perspective, every product must be carefully considered and curated in order to maximize sales for concession partners. This requires the concessionaire to do a detailed analysis of the guest to ensure that the merchandise offered has a broad appeal, while it also appeals to a variety of customer profiles and satisfies unique tastes and styles. For merchandising, delivery, and storage, again, we operate in a 24/7 secure environment. So all the merchandise must go through a centralized screening area managed by the TSA and operated by the terminal manager. It's also important to have a strong working knowledge of inventory levels so that you have the right amount of product on hand to satisfy customer demand. For pricing strategy, menu items and product prices must be comparable and competitive to off-airport stores and restaurants, and must follow the Port Authority's Street Pricing Plus requirements. This includes a detailed review and a regular inspection of pricing to ensure a fair standard is being followed. Next, for hours of operation, shops and restaurants are required to be open 90 minutes before the first flight out and must remain open until the last flight leaves or 1 hour after arrival. And when there are flight delays or other special circumstances, stores may be required to stay open for 24-hour operations, as we must ensure appropriate service levels to guests. From a restaurant perspective, you will want to offer a full menu, including breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks, to ensure you're covering all meal requirements. And another area to be aware of is the cost of construction, which is typically higher than build-outs on the street due to the additional processes and procedures required to build within the airport. One example would be that you have to bring in building materials, including tools that are subject to security screening protocols and regular inspections to ensure the equipment is locked away safely. Finally, one additional item to consider when operating in an airport environment is the cost of labor can be higher due to the minimum wage salary in New York and the hours of operation. So at URW, we are your partners, and we're committed to helping you understand and work within this airport environment so that you can achieve success. Let's go to the next slide. So let's talk about how do you know if your business is a good fit for the program? Well, we ask you to evaluate and reflect on the following to see if this is the right opportunity for your business. First, take a look at your business capacity. Are you ready to expand? Do you have the type of business partners and people that will allow you to scale to a high demand and complex business infrastructure? Second, are you familiar with the guest preference? Have you done your due diligence to understand their wants, behaviors, and needs? And third, what is your brand product offer? Can you curate an experience that's going to meet the needs of the passenger profile, evolve throughout the day, and really meet the unique attributes of our multicultural guests? So when business capacity, the guest preference, and the brand product offer come together, this can be the perfect catalyst for your business to be a good fit for the new Terminal 1. Next slide. So, as Alex mentioned before, there are going to be many opportunities and ways that your business can participate in the commercial program. So let's move into some resources that can help you prepare for this opportunity. I'd like to introduce you to Diana Rose, Program Coordinator with the Institute of Concessions for the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. Diana?
Thank you so much, Amy. A true pleasure to be here. Thank you, URW, for consistently partnering with us in terms of getting the word out for the Institute of Concessions. Again, my name is Diana Rose, and I'm the program coordinator for the JFK Airport Institute of Concessions, a multi-dynamic program that is geared to support you with your endeavors in becoming a concessionaire at JFK. Next slide. The Institute of Concessions is a 10-week in-person training program that provides a gateway for local and diverse businesses to gain the in-depth knowledge, understanding, practice, and key competencies that are essential to successfully operating a concession at any Port Authority and New York, New Jersey facility, with an initial focus on JFK Airport. And I am happy to say, as we're on this outreach in partnership with URW, the JFK redevelopment terminal developers and their concession managers have committed to carving out upcoming concession opportunities to operate at JFK for graduates of the IOC. Next slide. And the way we deliver the IOC is via a three-pronged approach. There's the learn, practice, and live portion. During the learn portion, we go over 12 modules, and that's to 15 businesses. They are mandatory in-person learning modules every Tuesday and Thursday from 2 to 5 p.m. But again, they're geared to give you all of the competencies needed to successfully respond to opportunities, as well as once you have hopefully won those opportunities to successfully journey through your concessions. There's also the practice portion where the 15 businesses are divided into 3 teams to submit a detailed and curated mock RFP by the IOC. that responds to either a food and beverage or retail concessions. Very much to what was previously mentioned, this mock RFP is really geared to give you that training prior to any opportunities and RFPs going live. And then the live portion of the program is where graduates of the IOC are selected and paired with terminal developers, master concessionaires, as you have just heard, primes to get support, right? Because again, I know many of you may be street side businesses and not have had the opportunity to open a concession on air side. So by pairing you with those who are experienced in this field is really important. So that's the live portion. Next slide. So these are the 12 modules that are covered during the program, modules that are, key components to really successfully doing this. And our modules were actually taken from the resource manual with airport in-terminal concessions from 2011. And these are the key modules that we pulled out. So we have the JFK overview and Airport 101, Concession Partnerships 101, what makes you attractive to a prime, as we talked about those joint venture opportunities, the customer experience, right? Because the customers that you interact with on street side, it's very different from the customers that you're going to experience within the terminal. We have security and TSA. Again, that was briefly just touched upon. The requirements needed for yourself, for your product. How can you successfully navigate through that? Financial investment and return, which is, I would say, our most in-depth module, because that's the biggest question, right? How much is this going to cost me, right? Where can I get capital from? What's the return on my investment? So we have financial and return on investment. We have legal operating models and exit strategies, another key module to talk about how are you designing your partnership, right? What does your legal operation look like? We know that in 2020, the unfortunate events of the pandemic happened. So what does that mean in regards to your exit strategy? Design and build out our concessions, logistics for operating and managing concessions, the procurement process, which many of you may be going through at this moment, the ACDBE program, again, which was touched upon at the top of this outreach, getting your ACDBE application in, learning the process, right? If you are certifiable, get your certification. Food, safety, health standards for aviation, and minimum wage and street pricing. Again, because we are in New York and because it is the airport, minimum wage looks very different. So definitely want to just give you an overview of some of the competencies. And again, it's every Tuesday and Thursday from 2 to 5 p.m. Next slide. So businesses that have applied are businesses that have been in operation for at least 3 years, produce high volume capacity. On average, that looks like 1,500 transactions per month. High grossing food and beverage and retail experience, again, because we want to ensure that you can handle that high volume capacity. Again, ACDBE certified or certifiable. You do not have to be ACDBE certified to gain a seat into the program, but we do encourage you once you're in the program, if you're certifiable, to get your ACDBE certification, and a strong preference for minority and women-owned business. Next slide. Cohort 2, so the application did close Monday, April 8th, and we're looking to provide acceptance notifications really soon. As a matter of fact, today we are scheduled to provide acceptance and declinations. The program will start next Tuesday, a week from now on April 23rd, and we're looking forward to our next program graduation on Thursday, June 27th at Queensborough Hall. Next slide. And this is a really exciting snapshot of our inaugural cohort. Some of these businesses you may know. I'm just going to point out a few that are tier 1, meaning the 37 zip codes that are targeted for this redevelopment. So we have Cousins Dozens, Todd Jones. We have Villa Russo from Russo's on the Bay. Many of you may know that business. We also have Recon Salvadoreno, right on Jamaica Avenue. Definitely want to just highlight some of the hyper local businesses that have been awarded a seat for the Institute of Concessions and that have truly benefited from this knowledge and the competencies that were taught and the connections and the networking opportunities that were made. So excited for this inaugural cohort. Next slide. This was our graduation ceremony last November 30th. Graduates of the IOC will represent to Port Authority of New York and New Jersey and our partners as URW as a pipeline of educated and curated business ready to competitively bid and successfully operate a concession. Again, the goal is to provide a competent group of local businesses that can say, I may not have had experience within the concession framework within airports, but I have the knowledge, I have the competencies, I've made the connections, and I think I'm ready for you to give me this, to apply so you can give me this opportunity. Next slide. So cohort 3 is to be determined. So please, if you can, if you're not already on a new JFK website, please newjfkwebsite.com to follow, what's happening with the IOC. Also, if you're following URW, again, there are partners in this. So if there is a concession outreach, there's a pretty good chance that we'll be a part of that. And just, keep abreast to the different outlets. I know that there is a advisory council meeting open to the public happening this Thursday at Roy Wilkins Park. Again, another opportunity to learn more. So cohort 3 is to be determined and will be announced shortly. Next slide. For more information, if you are watching this on your computer, please use your phone to scan our QR code for more information, or please visit our website. If you can take a screenshot of this slide at panyng.gov/institute-of-concessions. Or if you have an immediate question, you really want to get it to us, please send us an email at info.concessions@panyng.gov. So again, looking forward to receiving your questions. Next slide. I believe that's our final slide. So thank you again for this opportunity, URW, to share more about the IOC. Amy, thank you.
Thank you so much, Diana. And really, the Institute of Concessions is such a fantastic resource. We appreciate your incredible partnership. So now what? What else can we do to prepare for these upcoming opportunities? I'd like to introduce Diana Hilaire, Senior Project Manager with RFW Consultants, and our partner providing key education, capacity building, and certification expertise to the local community. Turning it over to you, Diana.
Thank you so much, Amy. And thank you to Diana Rose. I just want to say what a wonderful program you're leading at JFK. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Diana Hilaire, as Amy said, and I am the Senior Project Manager with RFW, serving as the compliance partner in this phenomenal project. Now that you've heard some wonderful opportunities happening, let's jump into some more acronyms with some definitions. First up, you've heard throughout this presentation, LBE, LBE, LBE. So let's get a better understanding of what LBE stands for, which means Local Business Enterprise. LBE is not a certification program. It's a designation made by Port Authority to identify those areas that are local to JFK Airport. As you can see on the map in front of you, the highlighted area around the airport includes southeastern Queens, the Rockaways, and western Nassau County. These 37 zip codes are identified as Tier 1 for the JFK redevelopment program. Tier 2 is identified as the remaining zip codes in Queens. The Port Authority knows that it takes a great effort to complete the new JFK project. But these Tier 1 and Tier 2 zip codes are given priority to ensure that the local community has an imperative role in the development of the new world-class JFK International Airport. Next slide, please. So as you heard so far, there is a plethora of opportunities for you. So let's jump into some important certifications that the terminal developer teams require. First, we have the Airport Concession Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, known as ACDBE certification, which is a certification program for qualified businesses that provide products and services to the traveling public or to those businesses that serve to the traveling public. To qualify for the ACDBE certification, the owner of the business must qualify as a disadvantaged business owner and meet program requirements, including personal net worth limits. We will share some resources to help you get through the certification process in a moment. The next certification is the Minority and Women-Owned Business Enterprise, known as MWBE. This certification is important for additional products and services that are necessary for the build-out of concession spaces in the later phase of the program. Since the concession program extends into 2030, now is the time to start the certification process and build your capacities in preparation of these opportunities. From product opportunities to construction and concession build-outs, these certifications and the LBE designations all work together to promote the greatest local participation for all the terminal developers at JFK. Next slide, please. For more information about the supplier diversity, please visit the website in front of you, which is www.pannyjsd.com. Follow the link under that says apply for certifications for all the details of the program and certification process. Stop by the JFK Redevelopment Community Information Center and talk to Rachel, Ashkar, affectionately known as AK, Bridget or Gloria, and the rest of the team for any certification assistance you may need. If you have any questions about the NTO commercial program, please do not hesitate to reach us at info@rfwconsultants.com. Next slide, please. You want to keep in touch with us? Please do so. We have our office hours right here for you, located at the JFK Redevelopment Community Information Center. Address is right there, 144-33 Jamaica Avenue. And if you have any questions, anything that comes to mind, please do not hesitate to reach us at info@rfwconsultants.com. And if you're a business interested in non-commercial programs, please, architecture, engineering, or construction opportunities, please visit this wonderful website, which has a plethora of information, www.anewjfk.com. Next slide, please. So what's next? Plenty is happening. For those who are certified or currently in the process, ACDBEs in the New York market or beyond who are interested in merchandising, retail, or dining opportunities at NTO, this is for you. Join us at our upcoming virtual session, Airport ACDBE Concessions, JV Equity Partnership Opportunities, happening on Tuesday, April 23rd from 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you're watching today, chances are that you are in our database. So if that's the case, so stay tuned for all future events. If this is your first time, welcome. Take this opportunity right now, take out your cell phones and scan the QR code that is on your screen and get in all the action that is taking place. Trust me, you won't want to miss a thing. Amy, back to you.
Thank you, Diana, and to all of our presenters for sharing your knowledge with our audience today. So we are now going to open the floor up to questions for our panelists, and I'm going to invite all of our panelists back to the stage for the Q&A. So as a reminder, we have been receiving a lot of questions. In fact, I'm seeing a lot of first-time viewers who are new to the process. Thanks for letting us know that you are on. So reminder is you can submit questions via the question function, and we will answer them now. So to get started, our first question is going to be for Alex. Alex, for those of us with product, what types of products work best with your travelers?
Yep, great question, Amy. So as everyone knows, this is an international terminal, and we kind of highlighted the categories that we see fit. So think travel essentials, think F&B, think things that are going to be convenient for the consumer or, make the travel experience better. So anything within those categories are businesses that we're looking for. And obviously we're trying to emphasize the locality of Queens and New York within those category mixes. So we're trying to do everything in our power to make sure that this journey for our traveler is local nature and also makes their travel experience better. So within those categories, again, you have travel essentials, you have F&B, you have services. Anything among those categories is something that we're looking for.
Great, thank you. The next question is going to be for Brad. Brad, for tenant build out, can you explain a bit more about what it's like to do construction in the airport?
It's an excellent question and a tough one. I don't know if we have enough time to even go through it all, but look, building in an airport is much different than street side. I mean, it follows a typical process of commencing design, but a lot of what we have guidelines. So we have tenant design criteria as well as technical criteria. So those kind of form part of the rules of the road or the guardrails for how you can design your space, what you can and cannot do. Typically, we're looking for materials that are much more durable. So we can't accept like plastic laminate, which is a common product, but it chips very easily. So again, just giving you a couple of anecdotes to kind of build up what it's going to take to design the airport. Then the process is that we submit to the Port Authority of New York, New Jersey for a permit, right? And that process can take 6, 8, 12 weeks based on the completeness of the drawings, et cetera. So once you have the permit, you will also hopefully have a general contractor on board, right? And that general contractor will, essentially take acceptance of the space and commence construction. Now, getting in and out of a site such as this is challenging, right? Building an airport is already difficult in an open operating terminal. Now we're basically building a $10 billion mega project, and we're going to be building 80 smaller projects within that. So you can imagine the challenges with logistics and other things. But this is what we do. Our job is to help kind of coordinate all that and make that as seamless as possible. But the timeframes to build a unit could range from a few months for a retail to up to, let's say, 5-6 months for more complicated food and beverage builds. So again, I'll probably just stop there because I could keep going on this subject, but hopefully that gives you a bit of the flavor.
That's great. Thanks, Brad. Quentin Bailey with RFW Consultants, welcome to the stage. Quentin is a partner helping our local community to understand the opportunities better. Quentin, I am also a city contractor. What kind of construction opportunities are available for me? Oh, you're on mute, Quentin.
Yep, for all of the construction opportunities for the JFK redevelopment, it's great if you're already certified with the city, but it's important for you to be either certified.
Quentin, we're having a little bit of an audio issue with you, so I'm going to move on to another question and while we get that worked out. The next question is for Diana Rose with the Institute of Concessions. Diana, is the Institute of Concessions required for an ACDBE to participate for T1 opportunities?
No, not at all. Again, if you are certifiable, because not everyone that applies to the IOC is going to be certifiable. So if you are certifiable, we encourage you to apply for your ACDBE certification, but it's not a requirement in order to participate as an IOC participant.
And we have one more question for you, Diana. I'm not sure if I'm ready to open and staff a business. What other ways do you suggest I try to get into the airport concessions?
Oh, that is a good question. Well, so, just to be transparent, as someone who was born and raised here in Southside, Jamaica, Queens, my business, literally born and raised here, went to school here, started my businesses here, I can tell you that this is a once in a lifetime opportunity in terms of local business development. And this is also community development, right? And the reality is that not everyone is going to be able to open up a concession for a multitude of reasons. Some people just don't want to. It depends on what your quality of life is. So In regard to other opportunities, there are licensing opportunities, there are product placement opportunities. Again, the IOC is really designed to support those businesses that have the bandwidth, the capacity. They just need the competencies, right? They just need to know how to effectively do this. But it does not mean that if you do not want to open up concessions, that there aren't other opportunities, like I mentioned, again, leasing, product placement, joint ventures, as was discussed before. So, and not to monopolize time, because I'm really passionate about this and can talk about this at length. You know, small business development is the bedrock of healthy, thriving communities. So if you are interested, please send me an email at info.concessions@panyj.gov so I can answer your questions directly. Because again, even if you do not want to open up or cannot open up a concessions, I want to, provide you with the information.
Great, thank you. Quentin, we're going to try to come back to you now. So I'm going to repeat the question from before if you want to come off mute. We'll see if we can hear you. So it says, I am also a city contractor. What kind of construction opportunities are available for me?
Great. Hope you can hear me now, Amy. It's a better signal.
Yep.
Great. If you're great. So if you're city certified, I'll just make the point that to qualify for participation as an MWBE or an ACDBE firm, you have to be certified with the Port Authority or either with the state for MBE certification. Any questions, follow-up questions about that, certainly email us at info@rfwconsultants.com. As far as opportunities, Frank will reference any of the construction opportunities with the redevelopment of the terminal as a whole, but there will be in later phases opportunities for contractors to provide services for concessions build-outs. And so we'll have more info sessions about that as those phases become more along near term. And again, you can always stay in touch with us through info@rfwconsultants.com.
Quentin, we have a number of questions on certification, so we're going to stay with you for a minute. The next question for you is, how do I know if ACDBE certification is right for my business? And is ACDBE just for shops, or can any other business benefit from the certification?
Sure. So I'll start with the second one first. Any business that provides services, products or services to the traveling public generally qualifies for ACDBE certification. So we can talk further about being able to match the type of business that you have with opportunities through concessions. But also ACDBE certification is for those businesses who serve those businesses that are already providing services to the traveling public. So there's a lot of application, and we have good partners who are experienced with connecting small businesses to ACDBE opportunities. The thing about certification to remember is that you may have heard about disadvantaged business enterprise, the DBE certification. And that just means that the owner of the business has to qualify as a disadvantaged business owner. The AC in front of that just means that those are businesses that are certified for specifically those concessions opportunities. So we have some of the details about qualifying for the ACDBE program. We'll discuss those with you. And in general, there are some limits to your personal net worth and some other details that we can go over as well. Again, connect with us and we can go over those specifics.
Great, thank you, Quentin. Brad, for you, are there any opportunities for staffing companies? Oh, you're on mute, Brad. You're on mute, Brad.
Yeah, I was asking Quentin to mute and I was muting myself. So there you go. So staffing companies, is that the question, Amy?
Yes.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah. No. Absolutely. Look. Again, it's going to take a small army to build out, at this airport, and so there are going to be a number of roles around project management and other roles. So, especially smaller companies that might need help with finance, accounting, those types of things. So, I highly suggest if you're a staffing company that you lean in and engage with us, and so that we can get you into the mix as we're talking to new tenants, et cetera.
Thank you. Alex, the next question is for you. Can you tell us more info on the food court?
Food court. So the food F&B opportunities is ongoing. We have plenty of spaces designated for food and beverage, everything from full service to grab and go to cafes to quick service restaurants. What I would say is now it's an ongoing process. Like I mentioned in the timeline, now more than ever, it's a good time to be connected with us. So like Diana mentioned, we have all these resources. If you're not connected, get connected. If you are connected, stay connected. And you should be emailing us at info@rfwconsultants.com to stay up to date on all the opportunities that we have coming down the pipeline, which is happening now and all the way through 2025, 2026, obviously.
Great. Thanks, Alex. One more question for you here. Could you talk about store within store opportunities? Will those be available?
So I think what that means is more of like the product partnerships, right? So again, we have plenty of opportunities to participate here in the program. In one of the slides previously, we mentioned the ways to become a product on the shelves within a few different of the categories, which I think is an amazing opportunity. We have obviously those minimum thresholds of 5% for duty free and 5% for travel essentials. And again, if you stay connected and you get connected and you email info@rfwconsultants.com and you ask any questions, they will be able to give you guidelines on how to get involved in product placement or any of the other ways to get involved in our program.
Thanks, Alex. And this kind of follows up on product placement, but it's for Quentin. Quentin, I am looking to have my product placed in a retail store at JFK. Do you advise getting ACDBE certified in addition to WOSB?
WOSB, not quite sure what certification that is, but definitely ACDBE certification would be appropriate.
WOSB is women.
Because in order to count your participation. Oh, okay, got you. So that is so for the redevelopment program, that certification that certification doesn't qualify for participation. But if you're WBE certified, meaning a women-owned business, if you're WBE certified with the Port Authority or the state, you would qualify for participation in that respect. The ACDBE certification does help as well, because that's one of the things that we track when we're looking at the product placement and how many of those SKUs are counted towards that 5% goal or other goals with product placement. We'll be looking for those firms that are ACDBE certified. So definitely, let's start the process and let's talk about it. info@rfwconsultants.com.
Great. And Quentin, a follow-up question. If you're certified in another city and state, do you need to, or how do you transfer or extend your certifications?
Okay, so if you're DBE certified in another state, you can go through the process of an interstate DBE certification. And that's just an application where you're evaluated based on your DBE certification outside of New York or New Jersey. And when the Port Authority certification team looks at your interstate application, you can also be certified for ACDBE certifications as well. Unfortunately, we don't have that kind of reciprocity for MWBE certification. So if you are outside of the state, you will have to apply for New York State MWBE certification or the Port Authority's MWBE certification program.
Thank you, Quentin. Next question is for Alex. Alex, can you speak to the timeline for the direct business model?
As I mentioned before, it's an ongoing process, right? I think, just because the program is intended to open June 2026, all this is happening now. So again, if you're not connected, definitely need to get connected. If you are connected, you stay connected, and also make sure that you're on all the events that we have in the future. But again, email info@rfwconsultants.com. Make sure you scan, the scan that we had before to get connected. But all of that will give you the information needed to stay abreast of all the opportunities coming down the pipeline and be able to ask the appropriate questions and get the answers that you need moving forward to make sure that you're on schedule to, be able to capitalize on these opportunities moving forward.
Great, thank you. We have time for only 2 more questions. Alex, a follow-up question for you. I operate a retail foreign exchange office in Manhattan. Am I qualified to seek a concession?
Yes, I believe so. So what I would do is make sure that if you're within the parameters to be qualified for one of the certifications, obviously you got to make sure to do that. But off the cuff, New York City based currency exchange program, we want, those are the people that we're looking for. So I would say definitely apply, make sure that you have all the qualifications and certifications, and, make sure that you're connected, and email us at, again, info@rfwconsultants.com.
Great, thank you. Our last question is going to go to Quentin. Quentin, will there be an opportunity for an in-person seminar with the officers in charge of approvals for companies participating in airport concession stands?
Will there be opportunity to connect with
at an in-person seminar?
Oh, okay. So yes, at the JFK Community Information Center, we do have regular office hours there. The staff there also is very supportive with in-person sessions where you can get some one-on-one time with the folks who are engaged with bringing in or creating those concessions opportunities. And we're also going to do some in-person outreach events, pardon me, as well. So keep an eye on the calendar. Make sure that when you're visiting the anewjfk.com, you click on the Work With Us tab under NTO, New Terminal 1, and you'll see a calendar of events. And we'll be doing some in-person sessions as well.
Thank you so much. So as a reminder, if you're registered for this session, you will be receiving a link to the recording, and it will also be posted to urwairports.com website. And by registering for today's event, you are now a part of URW's Supplier Diversity Network, so that you can be a part of our mailing list and you'll know about these upcoming outreach events and business opportunities. I want to remind everyone that you can email us at info@rfwconsultants.com. Again, that's info@rfwconsultants.com. Quentin and the RFW team will be available to answer all of your questions or any that you may come up with after this presentation. I want to thank you to all of our participants today. Thank you to this audience for tuning in, and to our panelists for lending your expertise. Again, thank you everyone for all of your interest, and we look forward to welcoming you to the new Terminal 1.